Yeah, I think it's really up to what a local community wants to achieve. But in the book, I did go through various sectors in the U.S. economy and suggest where public ownership may or may not be appropriate and where it can or could be scaled up. I mean, just to give one example, for instance, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for the state to own retail businesses on Main Street or to own small farms. I don't think we want to go there. However, what we may want to do is we may want to enable a more robust local economy by providing the support for small businesses and small farms. So for instance, in North Dakota, many people may have heard of the Bank of North Dakota, which is the United States' long 100-year-old publicly owned bank, which has been extremely successful in the state of North Dakota in helping the state have a robust localized economy. However, North Dakota also has another publicly owned enterprise at the state level. It's a mill and elevator system. So essentially it's like a giant processing facility for grain, and it helps support local farmers. So a local farmer can produce the grain and take it to the publicly owned facility for processing rather than being held over a barrel by a private monopoly. And essentially it was put in place in the early 20th century because they were trying to break the power of the grain monopolies, the railroad monopolies, and their backers in Wall Street, and to have a more robust, localized local economy. It came out of the Nonpartisan League, which was an offshoot of the Socialist Party at the time. So for instance, I've heard that in the agricultural sector, processing facilities are incredibly consolidated, so like meat packing and so on and so forth, and they can charge exorbitant rates and essentially put small farmers into these really exploitative contracts that are absolutely terrible, like Tyson Foods and poultry and so on and so forth. So if you had publicly owned processing facilities, you may be able to actually have a resuscitation of local agriculture and local food systems in the United States. Similarly around retail, I mean, we all know that local retail is being decimated by Wall Street and Amazon and so on and so forth. The Institute for Local Self-Reliance has actually put out some reports where they said that, well, public ownership of land, can enable small retail businesses. So if the city government owns, several blocks on Main Street, they buy the land, they can offer it out at market or below market rents to local businesses, and then it'll help them compete against the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world. So I think we can facilitate with public ownership various different sectors, even if we may not actually be taking ownership stakes of all companies in the economy.
I was just thinking about the way that producer cooperatives function in a similar way to the grain example that you gave there. So even that form of public, ownership can be a way of taking care of the processing and leaving the production to smaller farmers, in this case, let's say cranberry bogs in New England or something like that.
Exactly, and I'll just say one more thing about the Bank of North Dakota. So the Bank of North Dakota is a state-owned bank. All revenues from the state government by law have to go into the Bank of North Dakota. The Bank of North Dakota then backstops smaller community banks. So it works with community banks to provide loans to farmers, to small businesses, and so on and so forth. As a result of having the Bank of North Dakota, North Dakota has one of the richest ecosystems of local banks in the country. When there was a financial crisis, I think they were the only state that had no bank failures in the state. They had some of the lowest foreclosure rates in the nation. The bank provides student loans. It has some of the lowest student loan rates in the United States. So you enable through a public bank financing and capital to open up all sorts of different opportunities for what you want to do in the local economy.